Hey guys, excuse my face and my voice because I'm kind of losing my voice right now. Um, but I kind of wanted to have a frank discussion about anxiety. And so I thought because I'm doing one on anxiety, I may as well look as crappy as possible so that I could make my anxiety even worse. But at least it would be honest. Um, Yeah, so as you guys know, I've had an interesting life. I moved around a lot, first of all, and I had a really hard time in school um, where I was picked on just nonstop for many years until I was 15 or 14. And 15, yeah, 15. And that got me to the point where I would worry so much that I'd make myself sick every night before I had to go to school. And that's kind of where my anxiety began. But then also because I don't come from the most stable family, um, that's where that doesn't help either. So I've dealt with a lot of anxiety there. And then also I had an eating disorder for 10 years, kind of, to differing degrees of seriousness, but that made me really anxious because basically when I was picked on, it was because I was ugly or whatever to them, and so I became really fixated on never being ugly again, um, and I became really, really set on starving myself so that at the very least people couldn't call me fat or whatever. It was the only thing that I could control, and it was very much a control issue for me, and it made me so anxious. Like, I would have to check my waist every 5 seconds to see how big the bump was on my stomach, and like measuring myself and weighing myself multiple times a day. If I was like approaching 100 pounds, I would freak out. Yeah, and I just wouldn't really eat, and everything that I did eat, I was, counting so that I never went over what my body would burn in a day. And when I did eat, there were healthy kicks, but there were also times where I would just eat junk and nothing else. So like I would eat a piece of cake one day and that's it, because that's a lot of calories, but I wanted to make those calories count for something good. And that went on for a really, really long time, um, where like my lowest weight was like high 70s, low 80s. I'm not even sure because there was a period there where I didn't even weigh myself. But it got to the point where it manifested into anxiety because as I started to gain weight again to become more healthy, as I got past the starvation part of the eating disorder, it became shame about my body because I thought I was fat. So then it became anxiety about going to university because what would I wear? And what would everyone think about me? And would they think that I was ugly? Would they think that I was fat? And how can I dress in a way that I don't look fat to them, or like, or anything? That was like my entire fixation going into university, was like just having horrible panic attacks walking into school because I was just petrified that people were judging me. So if people looked at me, I would just get really, really anxious and my body would tense up, and it got to the point where my legs would cramp up so bad that I like couldn't even walk, and I just couldn't do it anymore. There were like 2 years of my life that I spent literally in sweatpants. And I never got dressed. Like, I just couldn't stand to get dressed, and I was like a size 0, and that was reality for me. And even now, I'm still very much that way. I always buy clothing like 1 or 2 sizes too big, and I wear pajamas most of the time when I'm not doing something important, like out and about. So I'm still like that, but at least I got to the point after 2 years where I could get dressed again. But certainly it's still something that I deal with to this day. It's just being really fixated on how I look and how much weight I've gained, because I most certainly am not happy with my weight right now. It's terrible and I hate it, but it's at least to the point where it's hard to go outside, but it's not impossible, which is progress for me. And apart from all that type of anxiety, I have really bad social anxiety because of the people that picked on me. I'm really shy in general, so it was really tough for me to go to school and be harassed every day being really shy because you're just kind of screwed. Like, I didn't have friends a lot of the time, and life was just really hard. It was really, really rough. And so I have been kind of trained just to dislike people. But at the same time, I study psychology and I want to help people. So you can see how confusing this is. And it's kind of like a pattern in my life for me to be like two completely different things. Like, not in terms of being bipolar or anything, but just one thing about me completely contradicts the other, and it doesn't make any sense. I don't like people, to be honest, but somehow I didn't let that ruin me. I took that as a challenge and I wanted to help people. And that was my goal, was so that no one else had to go through the pain that I went through or whatever, you know. So I turned that into something good. But yeah, it's very contradictory that I would do this because people don't impress me most of the time. But then there are some really great people out there that give me hope all the time as well. And then I had other anxiety inducing things because I was in a really bad car accident where I went down a 30-foot cliff and like in the middle of nowhere by myself. And I was like 19 or something, and that traumatized me to no end because literally there's no reason why I should be alive or why I was able to walk away from that. Truly something intervened. I don't know what. But yeah, that took many years of driving off of me because I couldn't stand to be in a car. I still really hate cars. I hate having other people drive, but I hate driving more. And I just recently have been able to just hop in my car casually and go to the store. It still makes me really, really anxious and shaky, and almost I feel out of it when I'm driving. But for the most part, it's been way better than it has been since the accident, and I've somewhat overcome it. So that's another part of anxiety that I deal with. And then just, I mean, I moved away with one boyfriend to someplace, which separated me from my family and my friends. And then my family moved to the place that I was picked on in, and I had to move back there where I currently am. And that was really stressful for me because I would have to go outside and see these people that tortured me, and it just kept like kind of bringing it back for me. And I don't have a great love for the place that I'm in because it's been so tainted by horrible memories, and there haven't been a lot of good ones here. Now there's starting to be, but there hasn't been. So basically my coping with this has, like, I had no friends for like 2 years. I just was like solitary confinement, no friends, nothing. I went to school online because I had to drop out of school, university, because I couldn't handle the anxiety. It just got to the point where I couldn't take it anymore, so I quit, and I have to do it online now. And online is great for me because I can manage it. But yeah, that happened, and living here has been hard for me, but I've adjusted because at least now I have a boyfriend and a friend that might hate me but maybe not. And so that's been really, really helpful because I find that you can only spend so many years alone before things start to get just scary. Like, You know, it starts to become a concern after a while. So that has helped. But I mean, because I've dealt with other incidences in my life that I really can't even talk about, it's difficult for me to be in a relationship with someone for various dark reasons. And um, now, finally, I'm with someone who's good to me, and it's very plain and straightforward, and he really cares about me, and that's wonderful. But before that, I was with people who really amped up my anxiety as well because they were always doing things that weren't right, by any stretch of the imagination, and I just had to deal with it, and that was it. And if I tried to voice opposition to what was occurring, I would be held responsible and blamed for it, and they would find ways to torture me with it for very long periods of time. So I've been with like 3 abusive boyfriends, um, and that has caused me a lot of anxiety too. Because I mean, how can you stop worrying? How can you sleep at night? How can you function when the person that you love most in the world is doing something that he shouldn't be doing over and over again to you? Um, that was really difficult for me. And so finally, I had to take medication for this. And I've always been opposed personally, not professionally, but personally opposed to taking medication because I've been way worse in life. But I started to take Prozac, and it's a super low dose because I don't really think that I have much of a chemical imbalance. I think just that I've really been dealt a shitty hand, and I've dealt with it remarkably well. But obviously, you're still gonna have a few quirks. So I have some quirks, but yeah, I started to take Prozac, and it has, I mean, made a huge difference in my life just because I kind of handpicked it because, again, I do study psychology, and so I know like what medications to pick for what type of issues you have. So for me, Prozac was great because it meant dealing with like eating problems, with social anxiety, with general anxiety, like insomnia, and a whole bunch of other things that are exactly what I need. So I tailor picked it, and it turned out to be great, and it's really made a huge difference in my life. But then I also take Ativan for when I get really, really anxious, and that's helpful. And and then on top of that, I this year had a seizure episode because I had a really awful day, and it triggered a seizure, and so I have to take that as well. And so it's been a huge kind of transition thing for me because it seems awful at times that you have to live life taking pills all the time. Like I feel really bad around my boyfriend because he's probably like, this chick, this chick is nuts. But like I need pills to sleep, and I need pills to like be somewhat okay, like happy, and then pills to keep me like calm or to de-escalate an anxiety attack, and pills to prevent seizures, and I have asthma, so I have to take asthma medication, and I have horrible allergies, so yeah, and my nose is broken, so it's like basically all I can do now is just pop pills and hope for the best, which is not fun either. But I've made peace with the fact that those are the things that I have to do in order to get through what's difficult right now, and I see it as being something that will be a part of me for maybe a few years, but once I'm out of the dark, um, then I can get off of them, and not rely on them, or at least not rely on them as much anymore. And so, yeah, I just kind of wanted to be honest about the anxiety stuff today because I went to the doctor, not my normal doctor, but this other doctor who just really cares about me. For some reason, like, she just, she just thinks I've had the worst luck, and just, she really roots for me and really genuinely cares. Um, and her caring so much freaked me out to the point where I had kind of an anxiety attack while I was sitting there with her, because I'm not used to people caring, like like in a nice way caring, and it made me freak out and have an anxiety attack, which really just kind of reminded me of, oh shit, I do kind of have a problem here with anxiety, and it's a weird problem because something good makes me freak out, which I know I've dealt with again with this guy I'm with, because it took so much for me not to run away from him, not to just text him like it's over and just be done with it, because it is incredibly difficult to go from so many abusive relationships, growing up watching an abusive relationship, and then having to adjust to being treated like a human being, to being treated like you matter, that they care about you, and that they want to be with you, spend time with you, talk to you. I mean, it's mind blowing. And it freaks me out. It scares the crap out of me. But I force myself to stay. And, you know, slowly, day by day, it becomes more and more difficult for me to imagine going back to someone who's horrible to me. Because now I have the expectation that a guy should treat me like I'm a lady, which never occurred to me before. Um, so, yeah, I mean, sometimes I suck at this YouTube thing because I have anxiety and I super don't want to be on camera if I'm having a fat day or like if if my hair is bad. Like right now, I don't even know why it looks like shit, but yeah. And it's so, yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to do that stuff. And even talking about this stuff, I'm shaking. But I force myself to do it because I do so much enjoy being on YouTube and talking about the things that I love. But just some days it's really hard to do anything. Some days you just don't want to leave the house, and some days you don't want to get out of bed, and some days you just wish that even the people that you love, that you want to be around, would just kind of go away because you have too many feels. um, so I'm thinking that many other people kind of experience anxiety, and I just wanted to come forward with what I deal with on a daily basis. Um, so when I get really excited on Twitter about really stupid, trivial things, it's because for me, those small things are not trivial at all. They're huge stepping stones that I never would have thought I would have gotten to, ever. Um, so when I'm excited that I'm with a nice guy and I'm enjoying it, it's like I'm legit excited. When I'm excited that I got a job, or like if I'm standing up for myself, it takes a lot for me to stand up for myself. But you know, there comes a point in life where you have been pushed and pushed and pushed around, and then you just get to the point when you're an adult and you're like, nope, enough's enough, and I'm not taking it. So deal with it. And that's kind of where I'm at, which is a good thing. So when I freak out and have rants, it's a good thing, just because it allows me to stick up for myself, which I was told not to do my entire life. Because usually when people are rude to you, your parents tell you to ignore them or just take it. So I spent a lot of my life just taking it, you know, taking it from bullies, taking it from a parent, taking it from boyfriend after boyfriend after boyfriend, taking it from friends, taking it from family members, and I'm just at the point now where I can't anymore, and I don't think that I have to, and yeah, so I just wanted to talk about anxiety quickly because it is something that I study and I have some knowledge on, but even though I study it and understand it, remarkably well. It's something that I live with and deal with, and something that I'll live with for the rest of my life. It has a great impact on every single day of my life, and it sucks, but it's a part of me. And if anyone else kind of feels that way, let me know down below, because I totally get it. And I just wanted to let you guys know that you're not alone in dealing with that shit, and that if it's something that is really getting to you in life, that there are options and that you should seek them out. Because for me, finally not being stubborn and deciding to take a few pills here and there, just that decision alone has changed my life quite significantly. And I think that if you're the right candidate for that kind of thing, then, or even to see a counselor, that it can be very beneficial, and you can learn to cope with it better. And there is life past anxiety or past pain or past whatever, that eventually there's a light at the end of the tunnel, no matter what. And times like this, when all these horrible things are happening in the world, I think it's important just to say that stuff, because even thinking about what happened in France today and what's been happening around the world lately, I get super fucking anxious and like really worried and really upset about it, because I genuinely really care about everyone to a fault. And so that stuff really does bother me, and it does create more anxiety for me in my life. But that's why I think it's important just to kind of throw out there, like, hey, I feel weird about all of this too, and I deal with it too, and no one's alone. And just to be honest about that part of me, and why it might explain if I just never put videos up, because I'm a spaz like that. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below if you experience anything similar to that, if this has helped you in any way. And please know that no matter what, I care about each and every one of you so much. And if you ever need anything, you can hit me up on Twitter or wherever, and I will be there for you. Genuinely, I will, if I'm able. So yeah, I'm just sending out some love today on a day that has been largely negative. And I wish the best for you guys. Thank you so much for watching and supporting me. I really do appreciate it. Thank you. Good night.